Welcome to part 3 of the Ellen Greenberg forensic linguistic analysis. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, don't worry, this does stand alone as its own report. Or if you're new to the case, this is the lady who was murdered, Ellen Greenberg. And we're going to be analysing the 911 call made by this man, Sam, who was her fiancé at the time. And as a case update, the FBI and federal authorities have launched an investigation, a federal investigation, into the conduct of the US Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. So we have movement in the case after many, many years of her parents campaigning for justice for Ellen Greenberg. And it appears as if we do have genuine movement. They're going to be targeting official missteps, the rapid cleaning of the scene before homicide detectives could return, and the removal of electronic devices. So they're going to be looking in detail at what actually happened as the crime scene was cleared up, and who was involved, and who managed to get the finding from the pathologist for homicide, who managed to get them to change it to suicide. That's the question that we need answering. So one of the ways that they're gathering evidence is emergency call analysis, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So if this is the first time you've seen an FBI behavioral analysis unit method of analyzing a statement, I think you'll find this very interesting. And at the end of it, it will be, and it's quite long and it's quite detailed, so you'll be looking over my shoulder as we do the analysis together. But you should, at the end of it, come to your own conclusion. In a nutshell, all we're really doing is listening extremely carefully and getting linguistic empathy with the person who is making the call. So let's begin. Let's begin by listening to the actual 911 call in full. And then what I'll do is I'll go back to the forensic linguistic analysis in detail, where we break down every single sentence and word that's said and analyze at the forensic level, at the unconscious level, what the speaker is telling us, and see what intelligence we can get from that. So as I play the 911 call now, keep your ears open for acting and where he stutters and where he's confident in the delivery and where he's not, and where he's evasive and where he's open and conveying information, and where he's convincing you or giving himself an alibi or determining what has happened without the ability to know, or knowing in advance of any investigation what will be found. So keep all of those things in mind as we play the call in full. I'm going to play the call in full so that it's not divided into sections, which wouldn't give you the entire feeling. We will divide it into sections afterwards, but you need to be present on the entire call, in my opinion, to form an opinion. So without further ado, let's play this without interruption. I just walked to my apartment. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere.
What is the address?
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please come help now.
4601
Flat Rock Road.
Is this a house or apartment?
Oh no! Oh no! It's an apartment. Please hurry, please.
Where is she bleeding from?
I don't know. I can't tell.
No. So you have to calm yourself down in order to get you some help.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm looking at her right now. I can't see anything. There's nothing broken. She's bleeding. Ellie.
You don't know where she's bleeding from? Can't see where the blood's coming from?
I think her head. I think she hit her head, But it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
She might have fallen. Do you know what happened?
She may have slipped. There's blood on the table. Her face is a little purple.
Okay, hold on for rescue for her. Stay on the phone. What's wrong?
I went downstairs to go work out. I came back up. The door was latched. My fiance's inside. She wasn't answering. So after about a half hour, I decided to break it down. I see her now just on the floor with blood. Like she's not responding.
Okay, is she breathing? Look at her chest. I need you to calm down, and I need you to look at her chest. It's really.
I really don't think she is.
Listen to me. Someone's on the way. Look at her chest. Is she flat on her back?
She's on her back. So
okay, look at her chest and tell me if it's going up and down, up and down.
I don't see her moving.
Okay, do you know how to do CPR?
I don't.
Okay, I can tell you what to do, okay, until they get there. I want you to keep her flat on her
God.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, okay.
Are you willing to do CPR with me over the phone until they get there?
I have to, right?
Okay, so get her flat on her back, bare her chest, okay? You want to rip her shirt off. Okay? And kneel down by her side.
Oh, my God. Ellie, please.
Listen, you can't freak out, sir, because you
okay, I'm trying not. Her shirt won't come off. It's a zipper. Oh, my God. She stabbed herself.
Where?
She fell with a knife. Oh, no, her neck's sticking out.
Her what?
There's a knife sticking out of her heart.
Oh, she stabbed herself?
I guess so. I don't know where she fell on it. I don't know.
Okay, well, don't touch it.
Okay, so I just let her here now. I mean, what do I do?
No, I mean, you can't. If the knife is in her chest, it's going to be kind of hard for you to do CPR at this time.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Police, which operator? 277.
Is someone coming here?
Yes, they are. You said 4601 Flat Rock, right?
Yes.
Okay, someone's on the way. And the knife is still inside?
Wait, so what?
The knife is still inside of her?
Yes, I didn't take it out.
Was it her chest or what area?
It's in her chest. It looks like it's right in her heart.
Okay, someone's on the way out there. Okay, just get.
Oh my God!
How old is she?
She's 27.
27, and there's no sign of life at all.
No, please don't be. What?
Then turn to her arm and tell me if she responds to pain.
Ellie. She's not. Her hands are still warm. I don't know what that means. But there's blood everywhere. I mean.
I know, but you can't. And the knife is still inside of her. How far? Can you see how far it went in?
It looks pretty deep.
Okay.
It looks straight. It's a long knife.
Don't touch anything. Yeah, don't touch anything. Okay?
I'm not touching anything. I can't believe this stuff.
So wait, it was just you there with her?
We're the only ones here.
And she ran in the door. You said latched it shut.
No. I went downstairs to work out, and when I came back up, the door was latched.
Oh.
Like it was, it wasn't like it was, it was like locked from the inside. And I'm yelling, so I'm
was
yelling.
your house broken into?
No.
So there's no sign of a break-in?
No sign of a break-in at all. I mean, there will be when you get here because I had to break the latch, but to get in.
Okay, 46.
Okay, so there we are. Let's now go back through the analysis in some detail, a bit more slowly, so that we can, and this is what we do, we slow down and we actively listen. And we're going to be going through 3 reports today, so I'll speed up. We're going to be going through this report, which is essentially analysing the words used in a 911 call. Previously on parts 1 and 2, we went through the bird's eye view of the call, and we looked at the different frameworks which he used. And then in part 2, we analysed the FBI have a list of attributes which are often found in calls given by people who are more aware of the crime than they said at the time, or are in fact the guilty party. And they compared a large number of innocent, genuine 911 calls where they knew it was innocent and genuine after the fact, with a large number of 911 calls where they knew it was false, where it was a guilty inverted commas call. And they identified, generally speaking, that these attributes were often found in the guilty calls more than in the innocent calls. So each individual pattern by itself, in other words, a single flag, doesn't mean anything per se. But when we get clusters and superclusters of these attributes in the call, we can begin to think, well, it's worth looking more deeply now at the language used. So those were the first two reports, and now we're moving on to the chronological language report itself, and then after that we're going to be looking at some supplementary findings such as the stutter geography, which is extremely revealing. And then after that, we're going to go at a deeper level once everyone is on the same page, having done the initial analysis. So without further ado, let's do the first part of the chronological analysis. So we heard "I need," the opening sequence, and he then went on to say "help," "I need," "I need." So let's analyze that in detail. The single strongest predictor of prior knowledge in a 911 call is the caller focuses on themselves rather than the victim. This is very common in guilty phone calls because the caller knows that the victim is beyond help, let's say, and they know that they're making the call for their own purposes to establish alibi. And so this mental frame carries over to the language that they use. And in his opening statement, we heard "help," singular. In other words, "help me." He didn't say "help my fiancé," it was "help." And also the singular "help" on a 911 call lends itself to preparation. What shall I say? Bad acting, because rarely would you hear the opener of "help." So we notice it was very clear, it was very controlled. When a person discovers a dying loved one, the brain is flooding the system, isn't it? And language production becomes, because of the trauma and the effects of the brain chemistry, it will often become chaotic, but sometimes incoherent. "Oh God, she's not breathing, help me please." Words collide, and we'll see this later as his words collide through cognitive overload. And they overlap and they interrupt each other. So this can be normal. This can be expected. That's what genuine panic sounds like. "Help," as a single composed word, however, is not being produced in this same area of the brain. The executive brain is online, for want of a better phrase, and it is selecting and moderating the language. So a lot of our language comes from an area of the brain which is unconscious, called the broca. So that's simply because at this conversational speed that I'm talking to you now, I can't select every single word and it will come out of my mouth at conversational speed having been selected. So it's all coming from my unconscious mind. But sometimes I take over and I'll choose the words. And so one of the things that I do myself when I move from the unconscious production of my conversation to conscious, and I start to pick and choose exactly what I'm going to say and the words exactly what I'm going to use, I will often stutter, strangely enough. I can't quite pick the word. Unconsciously, I find it far easier, far more easy. See, there's a good example. But this call begins in my opinion, planned composure, not panic. So note also the implied subject. "Help" is an imperative with an implied object, "help me." not help her necessarily, not help somebody help my fiance, or rather, somebody help my fiance. The first word, and we'll come back to somebody later on in his call, the first word of the call is self-directed. This matters because it's about to get a lot worse. Help, he says. I need. And then we see the cognitive breakdown of the language. And if we get a better quality copy and we're able to get an engineer to give us some more accurate data as to what exactly is said and how the self-censorship actually happens, we might be able to get more intelligence from this type of cognitive overload stutter. And obviously, this is a potential self-censorship mistake or error due to cognitive overload that we might look at for obvious reasons. So, the first complete grammatical construction, and remember we're looking at the forensic linguistics because we have the evidence which is being looked at, and we also have this call which is being looked at by the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit in a very similar way to what you're seeing today, although they'll be a lot better and have a lot more tools. But this will give you most of it. So the first complete grammatical construction after help is I need, not she needs, not my fiance needs, not someone's hurt. The caller's brain, in the most automatic moment of the entire call, selects self as the subject of need and then repeats it. I need. The stuttered repetition isn't random nervousness. The stuttering clusters at points of maximum cognitive conflict, where suppressed truth collides with the constructed narrative. It's far more difficult to make these guilty calls than one would imagine. You've got to literally be Hollywood level actor and not a B movie. You know, you have to be really good to pull off a false 911 call, and hence they don't, and he doesn't, as I think you'll agree with me as we go through the analysis. But for now, remember, one of the principles is we believe the person who is talking to us. We believe their narrative until they themselves talk us out of it. So why do I say that? Well, because the principles are already being broken. So our radar is on. And then he says, I just. And again, we'll need a little bit better audio quality because it could either be walk, present tense, or normally we would expect walked, wouldn't we? I just walk into my apartment. So we look at the tense because they would have very different meanings to us. And also we'll look later at this choice of word, walk. Remember, he's walked into an absolute bloody shambles. She's been stabbed 20 times. There's blood everywhere. He just walks. He doesn't rush to her side. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're looking at I just. So we have, and whenever we have time in a statement, it gets our attention because timelines are the deceiver's Achilles heel. They love to avoid and change and play with time. So as the analyst or somebody who is investigating, time's very important to us, and so we find it. And very often, if marking up a document as an analyst, you might mark time in green. And also because it's repeated, it's sensitive. So we have time and sensitive time, and a concerning walk into my apartment, my fiancé on the floor with blood everywhere. So we also notice, for those who have been following VEROSCOPE for a while, the sentence itself is a rather strange construction and doesn't flow. And deception sounds like this. So in other words, after a while, you'll begin to recognize deception, how it looks, how it sounds. And it's almost like once you know it's a French accent, it's unmistakable. And many of you in the comments will know what I mean by that. We recognize deception. And here's the beautiful thing. It's common, it's uniform. I guess in many ways we've all grown up learning to fib or lie, let's be honest. And we do it in a similar way. So all we're really doing here is just actively listening and seeing. It's up to you what you see just by looking really carefully. It's as simple as that. So what do we see? Well, we know it's a minimizer of time, isn't it? It's a minimizer, not just of time always, but it's a minimizer, sometimes used as an excuse and by gaslighters and deceivers. Just is one of those words, but repeated, sensitive, it perhaps has more meaning, more weight. So it means only moments ago, very recently. It compresses the timeline between the last normal moment and the event. Do you see? And we look at the normal factor in statement analysis in particular. So there's a bit of trying to convince that there's some normal factor as well. So just is one of those strange words. There's all sorts of applications to it in terms of principles of statement analysis. I just walked in works to close the gap, to make it sound like the discovery was just. Bear in mind, I think the caller has been developing a timeline and doing things in that timeline to plan how the hell they're going to explain all this. That's what I think the timeline is about. And the need to convince us that he's just discovered it causes this cognitive overload. He knows in his planning session that part of the call is going to be convince us that it's just discovered, only just, but it gets repeated. He stutters it. I just. And it's the same stuttering pattern, did you notice, as I need. So we have right at the beginning of the call, the radar gets turned fully on. It's almost as if he read the manual of how to do a deceptive call. And he's ticking the boxes. This tells us what matters most to the caller's brain, establishing when he arrived, not describing what he found. Isn't that interesting as a finding? When he arrived, the order of importance is important to us. And when he arrived is more important to him linguistically than what he found. So, walk into, I just, walk into. The speed of approach is concerning. People don't walk towards dying loved ones. They run, they rush, they burst through doors, they will run through bullets. The brain selects the velocity verb that matches the actual physical experience. So when we get linguistic empathy there, I was walking through bullets and I was rushing through them, because that's what I would do if I found a loved one in that state. But he just walks. Do you see? Do you see the problem? And his brain we didn't choose this word for him. His unconscious chose it because his state doesn't have the need to run or rush or burst through. He's past all of that. I just and then walked into my apartment, and look how his language goes wrong here. My apartment, my fiancé on the floor with blood everywhere. So we have to acknowledge the baseline of, if he's innocent, there's trauma. So we might expect this language to fall apart under trauma. And wherever we can, we have to give the caller the benefit of the doubt. But in my view, this is problematic, and this is problematic, and the I need and I need was problematic, and the opening help me was also problematic. So we have deceptive markers everywhere right at the beginning, and in sufficient numbers that we can say that there's a cluster. And this isn't a one-off. Track the movement verbs across the entire call. Walk into, went downstairs, came back up. I decided, we'll look at this in detail later, to break it down. He doesn't have any of the rushing language. His alibi does fit, however, in terms of the language if he wasn't aware. But he has had the opportunity to pre-plan. And we'll look at his ability to give statements that are either true or pre-planned as the alibi without cognitive overload. And where he has to make things up on the hoof, his language breaks down. We'll see if that holds true later. So we have the lack of urgency across his entire language. With blood everywhere, he says. The caller provides a general scene description. Can you see this is the emotion and color and depth and warmth, and it's kind of missing. It's a clinical reporting type of language. It's safe, it's panoramic, it's non-committal. And throughout the call, the caller describes the general elements, the blood, the floor, face color, etc., while claiming total inability to describe specifics. And we looked at that in more detail in the framework analysis, which was in analysis 1. It's more broad, it's more safe, whereas the specifics and the dangerous areas are avoided as an overall pattern from a bird's eye point of view. But he also doesn't assign blood. He doesn't assign blood to Ellen. blood everywhere. It's more environmental. It's describing the room, not Ellen. She's on the floor. He's describing a spatial. So Ellen, unfortunately, has become. See, body position is important to us. So we'll look at that in more detail later. Ellen has become a spatial object on the floor, and blood is an environmental condition. She is not a person who is injured, she is a location. The condition is not given, i.e. she's not breathing, not she's been hurt, not there's something in her chest, which is bloody obvious, but instead his brain describes the placement of his fiancée, not the condition. So he hasn't rushed to her side. He just describes, he's looking at her, don't forget. He just describes her on the floor with blood everywhere. There's a callousness to it. There's no love or warmth. My apartment, he says. I just walk into my apartment, my fiancé on the floor. So we have ownership of a shared apartment, and it has become my apartment. So perhaps financially it is, I don't know the history, but we recognize and we note the use of the ownership of both his fiancée and the apartment. So they're engaged and they live together, and I'm assuming it's a shared home. Perhaps in the comments you can put more of the case details, which would be very interesting to know. So he's assigning ownership of the apartment to himself. That's come out unconsciously. In a moment where she's lying on the floor of what should be their home, the caller's automatic word choice removes her from it. In effect, she is a guest in his space, on the floor, with blood everywhere. An object found on his floor. Then he gives the address and please come, help now. And he's clear with that. It sounds to me like his attitude changed. Listen again.
I need now. I just walked to my apartment. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere.
What is the address?
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please come help now.
Oh.
To me, it sounds pre-prepared, pre-planned. Like this bit he's comfortable with because he knows this is coming. What's the address? Come help now. I think there's pre-planning here. His cognitive baseline, the level of competence his brain is capable of under this exact level of stress at this exact moment. And yet we've got vagueness everywhere else. Do you see? Did it sound like that to you? He then moves on to please, which is very common, as is sorry in guilty calls. So we have the politeness markers and ingratiation, which is another marker, which we'll see later on in the call. We did note, however, that he didn't start with ingratiation per se. So at points he pantomime acts panic and overwhelm, and then at other points where the operator might ask him a straightforward question, he moves immediately from overwhelm and panic back to confident, calm, and able to give the information. So I think he is acting overwhelm and panic, but is controlled and calmer underneath the act. And the now is added at the end rather strangely, isn't it? And we notice time. So let's just listen to that again. And with an open ear, hear what you hear at more depth.
Help! I need everything out. I just walked to my apartment. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere.
What is the address?
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please come. Help! Now!
4601
Flat Rock Road.
Is this a house or apartment?
Oh no! Oh no! It's an apartment. Please hurry, please.
Keep bleeding from.
Okay. So, the opening sequence. We had 6 patterns in 13 seconds. We had a controlled opening. We had self-priority. We had the stuttering on the self-focus. And we had timeline, his interest. It was the stress on I and just, not on the victim. His priority is to establish his timeline. We had a calm velocity, and we had a general-only description, blood everywhere. And this is his fiancé, don't forget. And there was a competence baseline underneath. He has the ability to function, and he has the ability to change, swap and change at will, depending on the operator's question. So, foundations are built. We would now be concerned what else we're going to hear. Let's listen.
Oh no, I can't tell.
So you have to calm yourself down in order to get you some help.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm looking at her right now.
Okay, so I can't tell. So we notice the first evasion. So we've got evasion in the language, evasion in the statement. So in goes the flag. Remember, individual flags mean very little by themselves. And then we heard, oh no, oh no. Now, bear in mind, we're going into detail on this analysis, so do save the video and come back if watching it all in one sitting is too much, and also for multiple viewings to really learn the skill of analysis. And you'll be amazed when looking at your WhatsApps or your emails, and particularly perhaps historical ones. Once you have a good understanding of how this type of analysis works, and all we're doing, remember, is listening. We're just listening and seeing what we see and seeing what we missed in the communication, because we all know that a large percentage of our body language and what we say, it goes over our heads. So, but also bear in mind, if you do go back and open Pandora's box on your past communications, do bear in mind that perhaps you've only seen 2 or 3 VEROSCOPE videos. So always give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't conclude too early. Or watch 12 videos. And then you'll know he's an arsehole. Anyway, let's go back to the analysis. He's asked, is this a house or apartment? He responds, oh no, oh no. It feels acted. Please, hurry, please. The double please. The social politeness maintained under stress. The please is very common in deceptive calls, as is sorry. Please and sorry. However, also bear in mind that many innocent calls have them as well, and many people have this as their baseline way of speaking. But it's extremely common in the guilty calls, so we note it. And one of the things that we learn to do when we're doing the first part of the analysis, which is what we're doing now, is we don't judge whether it deserves a flag or not. So if we notice that there's a pattern, we put in a flag, whether or not we think, oh, well, most people would say that, we still recognize that it's something and we put in a flag just in case it becomes important to us later. So we notice, please, hurry, please. We also note the first use of the word hurry. And then he says, I don't know from where is she bleeding from. He doesn't say I can't see. He selected no over see because the problem isn't vision. The problem is knowledge management. Where is she bleeding from? I don't know. You see, when you're interviewing somebody, you have to be really, really accurate. Where is she bleeding from? I don't know. This is a common phrase that we see from people denying what they do know. And I would have thought she's bleeding from 20 stab wounds would make you conclude that she's bleeding from being stabbed. Not, I don't know. Does that make any sense to you? Or am I being overly picky? What do you think? Can you see how this doesn't sit right with me? Does it sit right with you? The problem isn't vision. Where's she bleeding from? I don't know. He has to manage what he should or shouldn't know. That's what's important to him on this call. Imagine the panic. Imagine, put yourself. It's difficult, obviously, and it's traumatic in some ways, so don't if you don't want to. But put yourself in that position where you're responsible for a murder and now you're making the pretend call. And you're not supposed to know anything, are you? And on the tip of your tongue comes out, I don't know. Whereas it's not the best answer for where is she bleeding from. So we put in a flag. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not the right answer or that he's guilty. It's just that it's not quite right, so we put in a flag. I don't see answers the question. I looked, I cannot determine it. I don't know answers the question by referencing an internal cognitive state. I do not possess this information. In other words, I'm not going to bother looking. I'm just going to tell you, I don't know. How would I know? I don't know. I don't know. Do you see? If you do, if you see, then you're coming a long way, because this is a difficult one. This is about knowledge management, not what he's seeing. So, also, he goes on to say, I can't tell. And we will often see this almost slip of the tongue in some ways. Others might determine it to be a form of leakage. because I can't tell is sometimes mistakenly used when they can't tell because they can't tell the truth. It's an elegant part of the call because it does have the dual meaning to determine and to reveal. And he selected the one verb that answers the question truthfully, regardless of which meaning applies. So this is something that you'll notice in deception detection, is that the brain doesn't like to lie. It will always avoid lying wherever possible. We are truthful beings in our nature, 90% of us, let's say. We are truthful beings. And so we avoid lying partly because it increases cognitive load and it takes more energy because you have to manage the truth and suppress it. Then you have to manage the person's reaction to your lies. And you have to construct all of the lies in the time order. You've got to pick all the words that you use. And it's impossible to do so under this significantly increased amount of information that you've got to process and deliver to the person that you're lying to. And so wherever possible when lying, it's done through omission, in other words, leaving bits out that they don't want you to hear. And the majority of it by, so the majority is by omission, and a very small part by barefaced actual lying, by commission, because it's dangerous to give you an actual lie. It traps them. There's no escape route once you've made it. So hedging and leaving things out is the preferred way of lying. Or using this wouldn't be deliberately chosen, but little unconscious tricks to make it easier, to make the energy spend less. So doesn't mean anything, remember, but we note, I can't tell, in goes the flag. And we're starting to get a lot of flags here, and we're even starting to get clusters forming. So then the question is, will we get superclusters? He says, I'm looking at her right now. And then he says, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. The operator, you have to calm yourself down. I'm sorry, she, I don't know, he says. And this double apology is unusual. The caller's priority is maintaining a positive relationship with the authority figure, not Ellen's survival. And this is consistent with the I need, the self as the subject, please, the social politeness, and now I'm sorry. So relationship management with the authority, establishing innocent timeline, has so far been his priorities rather than helping Ellen. But notice the emotional compliance. The operator says calm down, and the caller instantly switches from performed distress to composed contrition. Listen again.
No, I need everything out. I just walked to my apartment. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere.
What is the address?
4601 Flat Rock Road. Please come help now.
4601
Flat Rock Road.
Is it the house or apartment?
Oh no! Oh no! It's an apartment. Please hurry, please.
Where is she bleeding from?
I don't know. I can't tell.
No, so you have to calm yourself down in order to get you some help.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm looking at her right now. I can't see anything. There's nothing broken. She's bleeding. Ellie!
You don't know where she's bleeding?
Okay. So, he says, I don't know. This is the second instance. I'm sorry, she, I don't know. This is his second I don't know. His priority is I don't know. His priority is social compliance. His priority is ingratiating. His priority is his timeline. Do you see the problem? We're beginning to get superclusters which indicate guilt. So the evasion becomes a refrain. We have the second instance of I don't know, and this time it's unsolicited. The operator hasn't asked another question. The caller returns to I don't know, unprompted, reinforcing the evasion without being pressed. And when a phrase repeats without prompting, it has become a refrain, a default. The brain returns to under stress, under planning. He knows he needs to impart, I don't know. And it's not an answer to a specific question here. It's a state the caller is maintaining and is trying to sell. And don't forget, he knows it's not just the operator listening. He knows at some point it's going to be police and others, analysts most likely. A sustained posture of claimed ignorance. But this I'm looking at her right now is important. It's very important. He says, I don't know. I'm looking at her right now. She, I can't see anything. So let's examine deeply. Right now, I'm looking at her. So we've got the simple present continuous. I'm looking at her. This describes an ongoing action. There's no temporal comparison implied. We've got neutral, present tense, but I'm looking at her right now. This creates an emphatic temporal comparison structure. Don't forget, he's choosing these words unconsciously, potentially giving us intelligence if we slow down and really listen and analyze. But we have to be careful that we don't find things which don't exist. We can only rely on what's truly said and meant and what we observe. We have to recognize the limitations of listening actively. Doesn't turn us into mind readers. So, at this moment, this right now means at this moment, as opposed to some other moment. It's contrastive, isn't it? It's unusual, first of all. I'm looking at her right now. Don't forget, this is a murder scene, or he says suicide scene. But either way, the lady has been stabbed 20 times, and often in a torturous way, with a serrated blade, I understand. And I also understand that she was making a fruit salad before what happened to her happened. So there's some other moment. There has to be some other moment for right now to be true. And it's important to him to tell us that I'm looking at her right now. So when were you looking at her before in this state? Do you see? If this is genuinely the first time the caller has seen the victim in this condition, there is no prior viewing moment for right now to contrast against. This is why when many people read this sentence, they have a gut feel, this doesn't sound right. I'm looking at her right now. You know, this is the guy that's made the 911 call. We know you should be looking at her right now. But this is contrasting. First visual contact is a single time point. You are looking at her, period. I'm looking at her. Why would you even say that? There is no right now versus before, because there is no before. His brain, remember, is telling us the truth. The brain uses simple present continuous. I'm looking at her. But right now requires that same brain to unconsciously have two time points. The brain constructed a temporal comparison because the brain's experiential timeline contains two viewing moments. An earlier one, which he is attempting to hide, in my opinion, on his constructed timeline, and the current one, this phone call that he's making right now. The caller saw Ellen before this call, and this is the reason why linguistically his brain inserted, for no necessary reason, right now. I'm looking at her right now.
I can't see anything. There's nothing broken. She's bleeding. Ellie?
You don't know where she's bleeding from, can't you?
Ellie?
Where the blood's coming from?
I think her head. I think she hit her head, I think. But it's everywhere.
Okay, so
it's everywhere.
You think she might have fallen? Do you know what happened?
She may have slipped. There's blood on the table. Her face is a little purple.
Okay, hold on for rescue for her. Stay on.
Okay, so he goes on to say, I can't see anything. I'm looking at her right now. I can't see anything. So we've got in consecutive breath groups. I can't see anything. I'm looking at her. He's simultaneously looking and unable to see. So that's an impossibility, isn't it? Unless can't see means something other than perceptual failure. He's looking at a body with 20 stab wounds, blood everywhere, and a knife protruding from the chest, which he calls her knife, by the way. Extensive visible trauma is present. The claim, I can't see anything, is not a description of visual impairment. It's a description of reporting strategy. I mean, obviously it's not true. This is his brain carrying out the reporting strategy that he planned before the call. I would imagine the time spent between kicking the door down and the murder, if that's your opinion, rather than suicide. And he's trapped by stating it's just the two of them together and there's no sign of a break-in, and he's the one who kicked the door down, most likely after she closed the security latch and wouldn't let him in. He says he's yelling outside. She's making a fruit salad, or was. Is that why he said her knife? Anyway, I'm moving on. I'll get back to this part of the analysis. So it's a reporting strategy. I don't know. I can't see anything. So we've got 3 denials of knowledge, of perception within 10 seconds. It continues the evasion pattern. The evasion pattern has become a sustained state. The brain has settled into a posture. I am a person who cannot see, cannot know, cannot determine, and he will continue this posture now because it's safe. Very common policy. I know nothing, as Manuel might have said once when describing a racehorse called Dragonfly. So, self-abandonment, self-censorship in real time. I can't see anything, he says. She does, and there we have self-censorship. There's nothing broken. Now, if he was the murderer and he stabbed her 20 times, he would know that there's nothing broken. But I'm assuming he hasn't done an autopsy at this stage. So how would he know that there's nothing broken? Also, at this stage, he's just looking at her. He's just walked into the room. And he's just looking at her now. How on earth would he know there's nothing broken? There's blood everywhere. It's a shambles. It's an absolute horror scene. How would he know this? And also, we have self-censorship just before the unknowable statement. So we have multiple flags going in everywhere. Let's just carry on a little bit further.
On the phone. What's wrong?
I went downstairs to go work out. I came back up. The door was latched.
Okay, so 2 words here and an abrupt stop. She does. The brain began producing a statement, didn't it? Before we got the self-censorship. I wonder what she does was going to go on to say. It was launching, wasn't it? And then his conscious monitoring system caught it, recognized what his unconscious mind had prepared to deliver, and he managed to stop it just in time. Realized that wasn't the thing to say. Recognized perhaps what was about to be revealed. He killed the sentence, literally. Boom. Shut it down. And then for some strange reason, he gave us this beautiful bit of intelligence that he shouldn't know. There's nothing broken. You should not know this. So we've got visible self-censorship. We've got the automatic language system knew something about Ellen and started saying it. But look, this pivot here is a mistake. He thought it was a new safe topic to cover the dangerous abandoned revelation. And karma's a beautiful thing, because by abandoning what he thought was dangerous to move into what he thought was safe, he's actually given the game away. Isn't that wonderful? His pivot gave the game away. He should not know. There's nothing broken. Or does he mean that there's in the crime scene? Does he mean that there's no broken plates? There's nothing broken. Nobody asked about broken bones. The operator asked where she's bleeding from. The caller abandons a sentence about Ellen and then offers there's nothing broken. This is an unsolicited negation of something nobody raised. He used it to retreat to safety. It's the shape of concealment. The brain, having just suppressed information about the actual injuries, reaches for something safe to say. Nothing broken. It's controllable in his mind in that instant. It's benign. It sounds like observation without revealing anything. But it also reveals assessment capability that he should not have. The caller can evaluate whether bones are broken. The caller can process the visual information about Ellen's body and reach conclusions. He's just shown us that. So his prior claim just before of I can't see anything and I don't know, they're not perceptual failures. They're selective reporting. He can access some things, so he chooses. He chooses the safe, which he thought was safe, but which has actually given the entire game away. And he is very careful around the dangers. So this creates its own pattern. He goes on to say, I think her head. The operator said, you don't know where she's bleeding from? He said, can't, coming from Ellie. I think her head. I think she hit her head. I think it's everywhere, everywhere. So he's hedging. We have sensitivity. Calling Ellie. But who's the audience? Who's the audience? Good guy Sam. He didn't rush to his fiance's side, but he's happy to pretend that he's calling her single name. And also remember, if you're making a false call and you're not a great actor, what are you going to say? Well, they will often pick single words like please, oh God, sorry, Ellie, please, oh God, oh no. Ellie, it's very limited because A, you don't want to take the risk of not sounding like Brad Pitt. They choose these singular words. They think it's how a genuine 911 call should sound, but it's very weak. It's performed distress. She, notice the sensitivity, the cognitive overload, the stutter, may have slipped. So have you noticed everything is hedged? I think, may have, might have. Sorry, this is the operator. She may have slipped. So he's introducing reasons why she might have stabbed herself 20 times. Let's carry on with a little bit more of the tape so that we are always a little bit ahead.
My fiance's inside. She wasn't answering, so after about a half hour, I decided to break it down. I see her now just on the floor with blood. She's not responding.
Okay.
Okay. Her face is a little purple. I can't see anything. A little purple. Isn't that unusual? So, I need. The self is the subject of the need. Can't see anything. We have selective reporting. We have that temporal leak of right now. We have the uncertainties, I thinks, may-haves, hedging in lots of places. My apartment, we have the ability to change emotional states at will. He is able to impart information at will. We have that don't know type of repetition, which from childhood is how we will inelegantly lie. I don't know. I don't know. This was slipping out off his tongue very easily, on the tip of his tongue. The sentence abandonment. We have the timeline stress. Blood everywhere. Doesn't assign agency to the blood. And no urgency in the just discovering. So the first 60 seconds has really turned our radar on, hasn't it? There's flags everywhere. And so when the federal authorities are doing their own emergency call analysis, they'll be going into a lot more forensic linguistic detail than we're doing today, because they have the time to go deeper and deeper on the call. But the level that we're going at today is certainly enough to demonstrate that further research is needed. I think that brings us to the end of this part. So far we've got 3 parts. We've got part 1, which is the bird's eye level framework construction. Part 2 is the FBI analysis. Does he tick the boxes on guilty calls? And here we are on part 3, where we've gone through about half of the actual analysis of the words themselves. If you found this useful, because you have an interest in the case, please do like and subscribe to the channel, where I hope to do more analysis of Ellen and in her support for justice for Ellen, especially with a view that we've now got the federal authorities investigating, and from a corruption point today, which may well lead on to a change from suicide to homicide. And if that's the case, I would imagine that arrests would follow extremely quickly. Okay, let's chat in the comments. Look forward to it. Enjoy the rest of the day.